Over the holiday season, I rode on the Frontrunner Commuter rail system and the Trax light rail system out in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. Hey everyone, welcome back to RailFan76. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I am the content creator and the owner of this channel. Please consider hitting that like button, and also please consider subscribing to the channel. It's been a while, but I am back. So this video is going to capture a brief ride on Utah's Frontrunner commuter rail system and the Trax light rail system. I'll talk about it a little bit, and then, well, we're gonna go for the ride.
Now arriving at Clearfield. Please hold your child's hand when boarding and exiting the train.
Yeah, so for Christmas, I flew up to Buffalo, New York. I did the hybrid Amtrak to BWI ride that I actually made a video about that on this channel. Well, another trip, but I did it again for this. And then on New Year's Eve, I flew out to Salt Lake City, Utah to see some relatives that I hadn't seen in a while, some of which I never met. So I Ubered up to Ogden, Utah from the Salt Lake City airport because the Frontrunner system does not run on Sundays, and New Year's Eve was on a Sunday last year. So when I was getting ready to leave Ogden, I took the Frontrunner commuter rail system down to the Salt Lake City metropolitan area, and then I used the Trax Green Line to go over to my hotel room near the Salt Lake City airport. So the video you're about to watch is capturing that trip. A lot of metropolitan areas have both commuter rail trains taking passengers to and from the suburban areas into the city center, and also most metropolitan areas have light rail systems. So you're about to see my ride on the Frontrunner, and also on, well, just briefly, on the Trax system. So again, please like, share, and subscribe. And as I always say on this channel, in our modern society, riding on the airplanes and using airplanes and automobiles are necessary in our modern society. Riding on boats is fun, but my favorite method of travel, or my favorite mode of travel, it will always be riding on the trains and railroads. By the way, everyone, I am a writer, and I have a newsletter, and I have 2 blogs and a book project on the way. So please consider signing up for the Big Words LLC Newsletter. I will leave the link in the description box below. And with that, I will talk to you next time, and enjoy the video. And please leave any comments you have below in the comments section. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. This trip in its entirety was my first ever visit to the state of Utah. I had passed through the Salt Lake City airport only once years ago on a flight connection from Phoenix to Las Vegas. On this trip, I was visiting my Uncle Jeff and his family, who lived north of Salt Lake City in Ogden. Ogden is a beautiful city/college town sitting in a valley along the lower banks of the Rocky Mountains, like Phoenix, except cooler, especially around the new year. It is the home of Weber State University. There are people of varying cultures and ethnic groups there, as described by my uncle and my Uber driver that morning, Monique, who shared that she herself was a railroad baby. She further shared that the railroads brought both black people and jazz to the state of Utah. When Monique took me to the Ogden Frontrunner station, I initially thought we were going to Union Station, which is now a museum/multi-purpose facility. The commuter rail station is actually an outdoor platform accompanied by multiple bus stops and an indoor station/waiting area for buses and trains, with restrooms and vending machines. The timetable for the Frontrunner was posted right outside of the ticketing booth. My train was leaving at 12:07 p.m., and I arrived a little bit early, so I had some time to poke around and record this footage. Like most commuter rail systems, the Frontrunner system had the self-service automated ticketing machines just like those in New York City and right here in Washington, D.C. for its two commuter rail systems, the MARC and VRE trains. My train fare was an economical $5.50, which was fine by me seeing as how much money I spent on my holiday travel. On the MARC train, the one-way fare for an adult is about $6 to $8 depending upon the time of day that you are traveling. Many municipalities across the country have built multi-purpose transportation facilities where passengers can quickly switch between bus lines and commuter rail lines. Like a lot of rail fans, I really enjoy the sight of old, abandoned tracks, and there was a set right next to the ticketing machines. I imagined this area was once a massive rail yard that had been repurposed similar to Potomac Yards back in Northern Virginia. As I waited for my train, I looked down at the old Union Station and thought about all the trains coming in and out of Ogden in years past, as described by my Uber driver Monique. In the old days, multiple railroads served the Union stations in any given city across our nation, hence the name. After purchasing my tickets, a quick restroom trip, and capturing all this footage, I was ready for my train ride south to the Salt Lake City metro area. I thought I was getting on the train that was parked right there beyond the platform, but as I made my way back from the indoor facility from my restroom stop, another train pulled into the station. The passengers disembarked, some on foot and some with bikes. The Frontrunner trains used the push and pull method like most other commuter rail systems, including the MARC and VRE systems here in DC, the Metro North system in the New York City area, the Metra system in Chicago, and the GO system in Toronto. That's just those that come to mind. Usually, the commuter trains are pulled out of the city/metropolitan areas using the engine or the head-end power. Going back to the city, the locomotive usually pushes the consist in reverse and an operator sits in the last car, which acts as a de facto engine. The engine used for this commuter train was a diesel-electric MP36PH-3C, manufactured by Motive Power. I have some experience riding commuter trains. I've ridden on the Metro North trains in downstate New York and the MARC trains here in the Washington, D.C. area mostly. The seats are nowhere near as comfortable as those on Amtrak's coaches, but commuter lines are not long-distance trains. The longest you're supposed to be on them is an hour or two. The Frontrunner cars, interestingly, had push-button doors, something I've never seen before on a passenger car. These Frontrunner cars were bi-level. I didn't go to the top level because of all my luggage, so I settled on the lower level. You could hear people walking around on the top level. There were bike racks on one side and seats with tables on the other. In each of the Frontrunner train cars, there were Frontrunner and Trax system maps. My trip was going to be relatively brief that day. I was heading down to the North Temple station to connect to the Green Line on the Trax system. The system was much bigger than that, though. There were numerous light rail trains with corresponding colors to get passengers around the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. Interestingly, the Frontrunner route extends all the way down to Provo, south of Salt Lake City, which is the home of Brigham Young University. There was lots more to see, but I was heading to a hotel near the airport for a personal writer's retreat for the next 2 days. Plus, it was going to be snowy and chilly over those next 2 days as well. As I waited for the train to leave, I looked out the opposite window and saw a long freight train heading northward. Immediately after departing Ogden Station, we passed by the old Union Station and the Railroad Museum, and I got a quick glimpse of the outdoor railroad equipment on display there. From there, the engine throttled up, and we started on our trip south towards the North Temple Station. There, I would take the Trax light rail train over to the Salt Lake City Airport.
Consider others. Do not put your feet on the seats.
Our station stops included Roy, Clearfield, Layton, Farmington, Woods Cross, and finally North Temple Station. We passed through town after town on that early gray January day. In some instances, we passed shopping centers, energy plants, and numerous neighborhoods until the rails ran parallel to the Interstate 15 highway.
Now arriving at Layton.
Interestingly, though I paid my train fare, none of the conductors stopped to collect or scan my ticket. Me and the conductor made eye contact several times, though. The conductors were sure to get your ticket on the other commuter lines I've ridden up to that point. Maybe it's a common practice not to check/collect the tickets on the Frontrunner. Or maybe people in Utah are just that trustworthy. I was told that there are many unique cultural and spiritual practices in the state of Utah. As we got closer to the North Temple Station, there was a Union Pacific train yard full of yellow engines, which I missed out on filming because it was on the right side of my southbound train. It went by so fast that I couldn't catch it, unfortunately. We finally arrived at the North Temple Station, and instead of it being cool and dry outside, it was cool, wet, and rainy. After detraining, I watched my train depart and gradually disappear around the bend. Even now, as an adult, watching the trains depart and disappear is a part of the fun and the ritual of train travel for me. It's been like that since I was a child. There's something about watching those two red lights gradually disappear. Just as it disappeared, a northbound train appeared and I had to catch it on video. The train had a 3-car consist, which seemed to be the norm for the Frontrunner commuter trains. As you can see, I recorded the departure of the northbound train as well as it headed back up towards Ogden. Once again, I watched the 2 red lights disappear in the distance. The North Temple Trax station was elevated and sat above the Frontrunner station. There were automated self-service ticketing machines for the Trax system similar to the Frontrunner system. My ticket was yet another economical $2.50. Like many light rail systems, it seemed that the Trax system's trains shared the city streets with cars before separating off onto their own routes. We made several stops before arriving at the Salt Lake City airport. I didn't leave on a flight that night, but instead checked into the airport Hyatt place for my previously mentioned writer's retreat. Just like at the Atlanta Jackson Hartsfield and the Phoenix Sky Harbor International airports, it's very convenient to be able to get to the airports via rail. Thank you for watching this video. I did not expect to capture this ride initially, but then I realized that I could and that I should as I was preparing to leave Ogden. I look forward to returning to Utah one day and exploring the commuter train and light rail systems there further, in addition to Salt Lake City and the surrounding areas. If you have experience riding the trains in Utah, please let me know if you have any comments or stories below. If you are a frequent rider of commuter or light rail systems in your particular locale, also let me know if you have any comments or stories below. If you have any comments or stories about anything I've discussed in this video, please leave those below as well. Best regards, and I will see you on the next one. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. All aboard!
Now arriving at Woods Cross. Please prepare to exit.